Well. The NBA playoffs are here, and y'all, I can't wait. I got two of my homies. I got Dime and I got Ryan. We're here to talk about the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Clippers, one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest, in the NBA. You got Kawhi Leonard, you got Nikola Jokic, you got James Harden, you got Jamal Murray. This is going to be an action-packed series, maybe the best first-round series in the NBA this year. Y'all know what time it is. I can't wait to get into it. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast.
Yo, welcome to Locked On Nuggets, y'all. I can't wait to get into the show. Ryan, Dime, how y'all doing today? How y'all feeling? Y'all ready to get into this playoff series?
Good, man. It's been a good week of rest here, trying to get ourselves ready for the playoffs, hoping that it's a long playoff run for the Denver Nuggets. But the way that the end of the regular season went, I can't imagine that a lot of people are feeling super confident right now.
Hoping it's not a long playoff run for the Denver Nuggets. Salute to you guys. Matt ducking smoke, as I don't know why. Unfortunate, but I'm super excited. And anytime you get a chance to go up against Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, and maybe get some get back for that bubble is an exciting time for me. And being in the playoffs is always awesome, as you guys said. So excited about this, guys.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great series. You know, I think one of the most untold stories about this year in the last several months has been the fact that the Clippers, look, they have been such a dominant team on both ends of the court. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, Ryan, Dime, there's a chance they could have two, not one, two players on all NBA ballots by the end of the season. And I think that the NBA community at large, if you haven't got a chance to watch Ivica Zubac play this year, he has been tremendous. I thought he should have been an all-star this year. That's how good he's been. I think he has an argument for first team all defense this year. Probably won't make it, but at least make the second team this year. He has been such an important player for them. And y'all, the trio, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Zubac, that has been the linchpin of the greatness of what the LA Clippers have been this year. And Dime, I'm not going to lie, I cannot wait to see it.
It sounds like you were picking us to win here, Swipa. I mean, that was some good stuff. You're right. Zubac has been amazing. Best season of his career. James Harden's been great. You picking us to win?
No, we'll get into that here in a little bit. I just want to look. I think it's just important to pay homage to what people have been doing. I think
facts.
If you're talking about what the Clippers are, Ryan, I think there's a lot of advantages they have, and there's a reason why I think honestly they really match up well with almost everybody in the NBA because of their personnel.
They're so versatile, man. I just pulling some numbers about this team. When those three guys and Norman Powell are on the floor, I think it was a plus 15 net rating in 1,000 possessions. So basically when Kawhi came back, and they've been so good together on the floor, I kind of equate that to about where the Nuggets were when they won the title. And that should, I think, scare a lot of people based off of the versatility that group has. You've got a leading playmaker in James Harden. You've got some defense all the way around, and you've got just dangerous guys. So it's going to be tough. And I want to make sure to stress this to Nuggets fans. They are not to be trifled with the Clippers. These are not the same old Clippers. And I think that's one of the first questions that I really have for Dime. How different does this team feel without Paul George, with some of the new guys that they have in there? How different is the feeling this time around? Is this going to be different?
Extremely different in the sense that the Clippers have approached this season far more seriously than the seasons with Paul George. And that starts with having defensive personnel and guys that are going to go out there and set a tone defensively. Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr. have been those guys. Nicholas Batum has helped a little bit, but he's had his minutes limited a bit more throughout the season, just kind of, I think, saving him for the playoffs, because remember, he's older and he played in the Olympics. But this defensive identity of this team is strong. They go out there and compete every single night. And a lot of that is, as I said, Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. and Ivica Zubac behind them. And without Paul George, he's just kind of an inherent excuse maker, and you never know what kind of player he wants to be. Does he want more on-ball touches? Does he want to be off-ball more? There was always just this, we couldn't satisfy PG, and it seemed like we couldn't satisfy the pairing of Kawhi and PG, but now it feels like the pecking order is very clear. It's Kawhi Leonard as the guy, James Harden controlling the game the most, being our pick and roll guy, but our second option, then Zubac, and then Norman Powell, and they all play a distinctively different way. So it's really two real stars, a third guy in Zoo who you can argue is a star, and then Norm and great role players.
Oh, no, there's no argument. He's getting all NBA votes this year, Ryan Blackburn. And you know what he'll be able to argue? The Zoo will be able to say that I've gotten more all the NBA votes than the Nuggets' second best player in Jamal Murray.
It's wild, man. Like it just every year because Jokic does so much and he soaks up so many of the minutes and the impact. And like it's deservedly so, obviously. But he does have other guys that really do help him. And one of those guys is Jamal Murray, who I think Clippers fans and pretty universally feel like that's a dangerous guy. That is a dangerous player that you have to be like watching out for and making sure he doesn't go off every single time, and he could be liable to go off at every single minute. Aaron Gordon has had great moments against the Clippers. Michael Porter, we're going to find out what Michael Porter's made of in this series. We're going to find out what Christian Brown is made of in this series. But if Jamal Murray doesn't play like the second best player on a championship team, it kind of matching what Zubac does, doing what Kawhi and James Harden can do, then it's going to be a long series for Denver, and they'll probably go home.
Yeah, so I'm actually curious about this. Don, when you think about how the Clippers are going to try to defend Nikola Jokic, what are some of the things you think they're going to do in terms of just deploying defensive coverages versus him, whether in the post, at the nail, top of the key, DHO, pick and roll, isolation on the post? Do you kind of have an idea of what you think they should do in that matchup?
I've been thinking about it a lot. As far as in the post, when we play the Nuggets, it's always, are we going to let Jokic try to go off for 50 and limit everybody else? Or are we going to try to, send two at him and make him give up the ball? Do you guys remember that game that Jokic shot 9 for 32 last year?
Yeah, that was last year, December. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't think that means much going into this season, but I do think that Zoo is a big body that can do as well as anyone could try to do in today's NBA against him in the post. There's no one that can guard the elite one-on-one players in NBA history all time, and he's one of those guys. So I don't, there's not a great solution either way, but no, can it shift to me asking you a follow-up question?
Sure.
And how do you feel about, I know this Nuggets team's offensive rating has been, fourth in the league this year?
Well, I mean, the Jokic on the court, they're the best in the NBA, but because of the bench unit and non-Jokic minutes, it's kind of carried it down a little bit.
Okay, well, fourth is still top 5, so that's still great. How do you feel about the fact that you're a good three-point shooting team, but you don't take a lot of them? Depending on who's in the game, let's say Jokic catches the ball in the post and Westbrook's out there or Peyton Watson's out there. If you're the Clippers, or I know Aaron Gordon's been shooting super well this year. Is he going to be willing to take 5 or 6 in a game if we give it to him? Would you double if you're the Clippers?
Well, I think some of this is with Zoo. I would actually just focus on single coverage with Zoo for the most part to start the game. See, the thing is not necessarily about Jokic's scoring. It's about getting Zoo in foul trouble. One of the things about guarding Jokic that Zoo has experienced is that it's not just the on ball, it's the off ball stuff with him. It's the face cutting. Zoo, because he lacks the prototypical sideline to sideline speed or just some of the bursts, Jokic will run by him in a half court setting, just kind of angling like he's going to go set a screen, run downhill, or he gets Zoo off balance. His arm gets stuck inside of the cherry bin, and the next thing you know, it's a foul, and he has 2 before the first quarter's out. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I would more so be worried about if I was the Clippers. If you get Zoo with 2 fouls in the first half, then you start to send help or double, because what you don't want to do, Zoo's not in the game, Jokic's into the game, and now they're just super high efficient interior looks that you're focusing on. And to your point about the coverages, the thing is when Russ is in the game, he's going to mostly have the ball. So the Clippers are probably going to try to go underneath those screens. Russ has done a good job as of late, though, is that using Jokic to screen on 2 and then trying to still penetrate to get to the paint and then either flipping it back out to Jokic for a floater or for a lay or laying it up himself. Aaron Gordon, the question about him, Dom, since the playoffs last year, he's shooting over 40%. So he's over for a calendar year now, been shooting above 40% from 3. And this season, he had the career high in 3-point attempts and shot 45% from 3. So I think at this point in time, for me, he's a shooter. He's honestly, even over MPJ this year, Ryan, he's been their best catch and shoot 3-point shooter. So I think that's kind of teams are guarding him now as if he is that, but he's still going to get good looks, but he has to convert and hit them.
Dime, let me ask you this real quick. So if it's not Zoo, let's say Zoo gets into foul trouble, who is the second best Jokic defender on the team?
I would honestly think it's Batum.
I was going to say the same thing.
Not Eubanks. I mean, I don't think he's going to play at all this series. It's too high of a level of basketball. But
yeah,
that's the key way to. If there's ways that the Nuggets can win this series, it's get Zoo in foul trouble, and if you can force Harden to some bad games, which I mean, that can happen. For me, it's the James Harden as the X factor for the Clippers, and Jamal Murray is the guy for the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets go on how well Murray plays. It seems like more often than not, but. My bad. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just who's the second best defender?
Yeah, Batum for sure.
Yeah,
but we got to try to keep Zoo on the court as much as possible. It's gonna be a big challenge for Zoo to play defense without fouling. Honestly, when Swipa was talking about Jokic catching the ball at the nail or the foul line area or high post, that is gonna be more challenging than in the low post. I think Zoo is actually pretty good in the low post, even though Jokic is dangerous scoring from there. But it's just how he could turn the corner and how he plays those dribble handoffs with Jamal Murray that makes things tough. I think the one thing that I actually haven't even really thought about before I got on here, and I got to think about the next couple of days, is how are we going to defend the classic Jamal Murray Jokic pick and pop? That is the number one thing that every team goes to when having to play the Nuggets. But I will say this: the Clippers have some good guys to throw at Jamal Murray and make life tough for him for sure. And I know Swipe is a Chris Dunn guy. He's been great this season for us.
You're welcome. On the other side in segment 2, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but also Kawhi Leonard. If he's this version of Kawhi, what can we expect from this series coming up? Y'all, we'll talk about all that and more here. Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Clippers. Man, if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time you had a service emergency? If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications, all through an app on your phone or computer. Now, I love that I don't need to carry 2 phones. With OpenPhone, I can manage business calls and texts from one app, whether I'm at my desk or on the go. And the AI call transcript and summary saves you time on follow-ups and ensures you never lose track of customer interaction. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another service, OpenPhone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Now, did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 2025 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. The latest technology for elevated playing with Wi-Fi 6 and 6E and auto low latency mode. Advanced technology. Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Now, look, I love playing my Xbox, and I love the fact that when you use your Fire Stick, that you can use your Fire Stick and your Xbox simultaneously, and then that way you can enjoy all the experiences at once. Now head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Q 3rd Gen. Y'all, we'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. We are back here for the second segment of Locked On Nuggets and Locked
Clippers.
On Clippers. Shout out to you all So glad to be here with you today. Even heard myself in the background. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Nuggets. Subscribe to Locked On Clippers. My dog Dom, I've known him for 4 years since I started the Swipa platform. He's one of the best to do it, make some of the best content out there. And honestly, I've been watching his YouTube videos since I started mine. So that's my dog. Shout out to him. Dude, I'm telling y'all, I can't wait for this series. Ryan, how are the Nuggets going to guard Kawhi Leonard?
Well, they're going to try to use Aaron Gordon. That's for sure. That's the entire reason that they brought him in when they traded for him in 2021. The goal was for like Aaron Gordon to guard 3 different guys. It was Luka Doncic, it was LeBron James, and it was Kawhi Leonard, excuse me. And it's funny, like Denver has fared pretty well overall in series against the Lakers, of course, but they haven't had to face Luka. And we'll see how that all evolves over the course of these playoffs with them now being on the same squad. But in general, Denver should probably feel okay in comparison to some other teams in terms of how they guard Kawhi. Like, he's going to get his. There's no doubt about it. But if you can try to force him out, instead of getting the 8-foot pull-ups, the 10-foot pull-ups, if you turn those into 14-foot pull-ups and 16-foot pull-ups with Aaron Gordon being as physical as he is on a consistent basis, I think Denver's just got to live with it. If Kawhi's going to go Terminator mode and he's going to make all of those, then so be it. That if that's what happens, then the Clippers are probably going to win the series. But I think Denver just has to trust that Aaron is the guy. And if not him, then maybe they'll bring in Peyton Watson. Maybe they'll switch Michael Porter at times onto him, a guy that's okay in isolation, but not like great in pick and roll coverage. So we'll see.
Yeah, actually, I was looking up player grades for all NBA stuff, and I was like, let me look at Michael Porter Jr. F grade this year on B-Ball Index as an isolation defender. So just a horrible year for Porter.
Has that matched the eye test for you that he can't guard anybody one-on-one?
Who?
MPJ.
It depends on the kind of guy. Like he's when he's bigger sized guys, players that are about his size, like a Kevin Durant or somebody akin to that, Jason Tatum, those kinds of guys, he's usually okay. But if it's the guards that get him in isolation that are too quick for him, that to me is where he struggles.
Now, let me ask this question. I agree that Aaron Gordon's a good body to throw at Kawhi. What if Kawhi just says, all right, come here, Chris Dunn, let's get a screen, like get Jamal Murray on me?
Well, they have strategically worked that out. And in the fourth quarter, the Clippers have done this. You know, you go back and watch the games, Kawhi will put Jamal Murray in the post especially on that right block to try to make that option work. And that's how him and Jokic, they just go back and forth down the stretch of the game, working in ISO, working out the post, and they're trying to get shots over the top. So he's going to do that. Now, here's the thing. It's like with Chris Dunn being out there, who I think will have to close because they're going to need his defense. And obviously everybody knows I love Chris Dunn. There are ways for the Nuggets to kind of rotate off of where Chris Dunn is. And then
they're going to do that.
Yeah, and then force the ball back into rotation. And so even if he does get the ball, you show and you can test, but you just don't want to give up easy opportunities, especially to a vulnerable defender in the post, to somebody like Kawhi Leonard. But I think to Ryan's point, look, you know, Kawhi Leonard is one of the best players in the league, one of the best players in the world. Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, and Peyton Watson, honestly, this is one of the most ideal elite matchups for those three, just because he's not somebody that's extremely quick off the dribble or extremely quick downhill. And he's a very ethical player. Like, he's not a grifter. So that also adds to it as well. Like, they struggle with grifting. If you grift versus Denver, they will reach.
James
Harden.
I was going to say the number one in the history of the game.
And so that's the thing about Christian Brown. Christian Brown also, again, per B-Ball Index, has graded out as an A isolation defender this year versus guards. But what he struggles with is some of the screen nav stuff. And obviously they're going to do a lot of that with Zoo. But I will tell you that versus James Harden, there is a world in which they are down. Well, in particular, James Harden going to the left as opposed to James Harden going to the right. There could be more drop coverage they're playing in those scenarios because they actually have played drop coverage relatively well this season relative to playing at the level consistently. And so some of this is just going to have to be, they're going to have to be very smart at what they're doing. But again, the reason why I like the Clippers a lot, I think Zoo's really good in the short roll relative to other centers in the NBA this year. I think having Norman Powell, who really is another option you have as a player that can kind of be a last option on a rotation, and then having other players like even Coffee if he plays, like even Batum, they have good players that I think are going to force the Nuggets to have to play disciplined basketball. But I think on the other end, the Nuggets actually have ways they can take advantage of the Clippers defense in terms of spacing out with Porter, with Jokic, with Gordon, and with Jamal Murray. But to your point, I think a lot of people don't realize that Jamal Murray's been one of the best pull-up shooters in the NBA. He's one of the best guard versus drop coverages in the NBA. He's one of the best off-ball shooters in the NBA and off the dribble. Like, he's going to have to be able to utilize all of those skill sets in this series versus the LA Clippers.
Yeah, that lineup, the Brown, the main lineup, the Gordon, J. Jokic, Murray, Brown, that does present some challenges. Clippers more than other teams, just because the Jokic Murray 2-man game is so lethal. But there seems like I'm only feeling a little bit more confident with the way you're talking about the defense of the Nuggets. I mean, yes, Aaron Gordon's going to do a fine job, but in the past, and I saw it last year in the Minnesota series, there were times where you guys were fairly married to continuing to switch MPJ and Jamal Murray onto the likes of Ant and good players. Kawhi and Harden are going to attack that. If you do drop with Harden and he's got Jokic and Murray, or Jokic and MPJ as the guys that are guarding the screen and roll, I mean, yes, you're gonna try to funnel the ball to Chris Dunn. That is going to be very obvious. But I mean, those floaters for Harden, those floaters for Zoo and against Jokic's drop, I just don't think it's going to be a good enough strategy. At the level of the screen, that's where you guys have caused us problems in the past couple of years before Harden, because Kawhi and Paul George weren't good at releasing the ball, when they had 2 on it. And you guys always had Millsap or MPJ making that first rotation really well and forcing the skip pass, in pick and roll. So, but Harden's good at making that pass. And as you said, Zoo has improved in the short roll a lot. So, especially when Derrick Jones is in, I think that's a key for the Clippers, is not being too married to Chris Dunn, because there are stretches where Chris Dunn can just miss 3 after 3 at the end of games, whereas Derrick Jones shoots the 3 a little better. And that baseline, basically our version of Aaron Gordon in that dunker spot, he's diving baseline. You can just throw it up anywhere in the rafters and he'll go up and get it.
The other thing about Derrick Jones is I actually think he might be a better Jamal Murray defender than Chris Dunn in this series. I think that there's an argument that you want the athleticism, you want the guy that's a little bit more physical, a little bit more bouncy. Chris Dunn is an extremely technical defender. He's got the long arms, he can get the steals, but if Murray doesn't give up the ball, he's actually one of the best guys in terms of preventing mistakes, preventing turnovers, and that's something that Chris Dunn wants to do. So it just wouldn't surprise me if we're at the end of the games and Chris Dunn isn't out there and Derrick Jones Jr. is the one out there, and that might actually help their spacing. Might be another guy that they can have operate in the short roll. There's a lot of ways that they could use that, and I think that could cause some chaos for Denver in some ways if he's able to guard Jamal Murray any more effectively than Dunn.
I'm thinking about it, Swipa and Ryan, and I think the Nuggets actually, I was leaning towards them starting with throwing Jokic to at the level of the screen to begin the series, but I think they're going to actually play him in drop and just have whoever's guarding Chris Dunn just come take away James Harden's drive and have Jokic stay home on Zoo and just force the kick out to Chris Dunn. I think that's what they're going to do. And in that case, that's where the Clippers need to try to lean into maybe Derrick Jones and Nico Batum. So it'll be interesting to see how each team tries to play Chris Dunn or Westbrook off the floor on the offensive side. Because defensively, I think Westbrook's going to be needed to limit Harden a bit, actually. I think he's a pretty good Harden defender. But, yeah.
I mean, on the other side, we'll talk about a little bit more, but also we're going to make our predictions about this series and who we think is actually going to win, who's going to come out of this matchup between the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. This is Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Clippers crossover. Y'all, we'll be right back. Man, when I find out SKIMS was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. Now, I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it myself a try. Now, let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, the fit, the comfort, just finding the right one for my style. I mean, as you can see, play football, I lift weights, you know what I mean? I need something that's comfortable, that I feel good in. And y'all, SKIMS, telling y'all, it's excellent. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the SKIMS. My goodness, man. These things were created. They got the SKIMS stretch brief that allows for you to have plenty of movement to do what you need to do. I'm hooked. Yo, these are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day, whether I'm working out or just running errands. They're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Now, shop SKIMS Men at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and Skim Stores. Hey, let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast and in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. We'll be right back for more here. Locked On Nuggets. We are back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Clippers. Shout out to my boy Darian. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out. We are doing big things over here. Getting ready for the first round matchup this Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ABC. It's on ABC, right? Or it's on ESPN? It's on, I think, on ABC.
Oh, that's a good
For
question.
sure.
All I know is that, unfortunately, Game 3 is on NBA TV. You're muted.
You're muted.
Don't even get me started. I might have to do a segment on that at one point, just a rant about how ridiculous that is.
It's
I mean,
insane.
the first game in Intuit Dome,
the
game.
Same night as the NFL draft as well. Like they couldn't have treated you guys a little bit better.
Right.
It's just brutal.
I mean, look, Clippers ain't got emotions what we're hearing. All right.
Yeah, but what about Jokic? Swipa, come on. It's also about Jokic.
To be fair, he actually moved into the top. Like, he think he's like top 5 or 6, like in most watched on social media, and he's top 10 now in like,
so why
vision and all that. So it's crazy.
Why is it a good decision to have OKC on NBA TV? I mean, on ESPN, man.
Nobody wants number 1 seed, you know.
Who cares? It's not better basketball.
Hey, that's the MVP over there.
Okay, but it's not better basketball.
Don, if you had to make an honest prediction, tell us who you think is going to win the series and how many games and why.
Clippers in 6. I think it's too dangerous if we go back to Denver for Game 7. I know the Minnesota Timberwolves pulled it off last year, but I just think it's a little sketch. I think we haven't talked about the whole coaching thing. I know, they've won. The Nuggets have won the last 3 games with Adelman, but it's tough. This is a new experience for him, and not having Michael Malone there and just doing all this before the season ended. And the way that the Nuggets people are talking about, including you guys, are talking about the team, it's not like you guys have been playing great basketball. And the 21st in defense and not playing great defense is a little worrisome. And the Clippers are playing their best basketball this season. So if the Nuggets win this series, it's a testament to how amazing Jokic is. That you're going to need big Murray series, big Westbrook series. And I just feel, me, Swipa, I haven't been very confident in this Kawhi Leonard era about anything. But I think we're going to win this series, surprisingly. If Kawhi can stay healthy for the whole thing, which is also the first step. If Kawhi doesn't stay healthy, if something happens, it's over. But it's also going to be a big test, I think, for Harden. He hasn't won in like an impressive series to me since like 2015, if we're being honest. Like where his team was like 50-50 and Harden's team actually won. Like it wasn't a clear-cut Harden's team was favorite. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on him, even though he's in year 16 and he's accomplished so much. I think this is going to be big for Harden. So I'm going to go with Clippers in 6 because Zubac is a good guy to throw at Jokic. And I think there's just generally more firepower on this side, and having a great defense always makes me feel better. So I'm going to go with us.
I feel a little differently. I think it's going to be Nuggets in 6, shockingly. I think one of the problems that I'm seeing and hearing is that if Zubac isn't out there, then what are the Clippers going to do to stop Denver defensively is a very real question. And Jokic he is about as crafty as it comes to collecting those calls and getting guys into foul trouble. And even if it's not shooting fouls, it's personal fouls, it's on the floor. And the way that he's going to be able to maneuver, I really think that Zoo, as great of a traditional defender as he is, he's going to be in a pretty tough place in this series and basically the sacrificial lamb. So if he's playing 30 minutes and then you've got 18 other minutes on the floor, yes, the Clippers can play some good small ball, especially with Batum if he's healthy out there. Kawhi is obviously back, and he'll be a massive factor. It's hard for me to trust Ben Simmons. It's hard for me to trust, like, as little trust I think as many folks outside of Denver kind of give Russell Westbrook. Like, trusting Ben Simmons any more than that off the bench is wild. So I think that, like, it's going to come down to the fact that I just think that Jokic and Murray are not going to be stopped in this series. I think that the way that they're going to be able to maneuver their 2-man game, get to the spots that they want to get, I think it's going to be too much for the Clippers, and I think that they ultimately go down in 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 interesting perspectives. I can understand both sides of it. I'm probably leaning towards the Game 7 at this point. just in this matchup in particular. And I don't feel that way about every team in the West. You know, I think at the top of the things is Jokic is probably going to have 2 of those games where it's just like, you know, like whatever. Like he just, the Anthony Edwards, like he's the best player in the world. Like, what did you want us to do? Like we threw everything at him we can. Kawhi, I think it depends on like his level, like consistency. You know, I think this could be a 28 points per game series for him on good efficiency. I think Kawhi is about that place where he could continue to give that. I think Jamal Murray and Harden are going to have their games where they're not good from an efficiency standpoint, and they're going to trade off. But then Michael Porter Jr., he's going to have his moments. Norman Powell's going to have his moments. But really, a lot of this is going to come down for me just with Aaron Gordon and how the Clippers are going to continue to shot make down the stretch of games. Also, because the defense versus Denver is different than defense versus other teams, Jokic and the Nuggets pull you away from the paint. They do that to everyone, including the Thunder, including the Clippers, including Boston. They make you have to play on the outside because of the way they're running their offense. Because at this point, it's not even about Jokic just as a three-point shooter, but it's just the DHO stuff as well. And if Porter and Jamal are running DHOs off of him and you're just having a player in drop or nowhere to be seen, that presents a lot of issues just from a shooting standpoint. You know, the Nuggets don't play defense well, and I feel like I've talked about this all year. But one of the things people don't realize, the Nuggets offense with all the starters on the court, they have a 129 offense rating this year.
Which starters are we talking about? Are we talking about Aaron Gordon or Westbrook?
Aaron Gordon.
Gordon.
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, by far. Yeah, Aaron Gordon. So, like, they've only had 410 minutes played together this year because they've only played really 25 games together. And they're all back. So, I think a part of this is the defense could be an issue. Now, first half defense, dime, they're horrible. They're like 29. Second half defense, they're actually 9th in the NBA this year. And so some of this is like, can they show much more of the effort they've shown in the second half consistently? And can they make this a matchup? Because if not, Clippers in 6, possibly in 5. Like, that's where I am. Like, they have to show up and do their job. So that's why I'm giving it. I think the Clippers can win this series. But really, the Nuggets have been Jekyll and Hyde all year. Like, there's a world where they win this in 5 games. But I don't think they're going to do it because I don't think their ceiling can be reached that often. So I think I'm leaning Clippers in 6 to Nuggets in 7 if it goes to a 7-game series.
Okay.
But truly because I don't know which team is going to show up.
I think immediately once you take somebody out of that lineup that you mentioned, it becomes much easier to guard. Just me thinking about it schematically, like you take somebody out of that lineup, the Brown, Gordon, MPJ, Murray, Jokic lineup, it becomes easier for the Clippers to guard. Ben Simmons, I mean, I know the small ball stuff, he won't get that many minutes in my opinion. He won't be as big of a factor in this series as Westbrook will be for the Nuggets. Darian,
but to be fair, Dom, if Russ doesn't play well, Jalen's playing. Like, he's not going to play. Yeah.
So what's your talk?
Be the one play.
What's your opinion on Westbrook going into this series, real quick?
I mean, he'll be if he plays well, he'll play. If he doesn't, he won't. I mean,
yeah, like he's probably going to play about 20 minutes per game to start, and then if he plays well, then he might close some games. If he doesn't play well, then he won't close games, and he may have his minutes cut as the series goes on. He's a guy that they could probably deploy on Harden at various points, just as an on-ball defender. And if that saves Christian Brown so that he could guard Norman Powell at various points or get her a little bit of a break, then that should be able to help them at least a little bit. But Russ is in an interesting place in his career. He's got a lot riding on this series in particular, and I have no doubt that he will be pretty amped for.
Oh yeah, very amped. I just think that a lot of these guys that the Nuggets have, if they're very good defensively, but they have big offensive concerns. You know what I'm saying? And then it's also the same story with some of the MPJ and Murray on the other side. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. So we got Dime said Clippers in 6. We got Ryan Nuggets in 6. We got Swipa Nuggets in 7, Clippers in 6. Riding the fence. Not really too sure,
Great.
but you know, I'm right in the middle between the both of you.
Both sides.
But y'all, let us know what you think in the comment section on the Locked On Clippers side, on the Locked On Nuggets side. Shout out to you all. We had so much fun making this episode. 400 plus live listeners in here. Cannot wait for this series to get started. That's Ryan. That's Dime. I'm Swipa. See you on the other side.